Hi and welcome to Matasync's Skill of the Week. This week we are going to be going over the organization registration form, formerly called the University Recognition Document when it was a paper process, but now during the electronic process of Matasync it is called the Organization Registration Form. Now to begin, what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the portal where we want to fill out our form in. I'm going to click my membership and click the portal I'm going to be filling out the form in, so I'm going to use this test portal. So we have two methods of getting to the organization registration form. The first way we can get there is by clicking the Update Now button in the orange box you see on your front screen. If that orange box isn't there, hover over Settings, click Organization Settings, and it'll be right there. But for now, let's just click Update Now and get straight into the form. Now before we get started, the first thing we need to do is talk about two pieces of information we'll need to have completed already before we can get into the form and complete it. The first one is going to be an Excel file that contains our entire roster, of which the specific pieces of information you need to include will be shown to you later. And you'll need, if you have an off-campus bank account, a letter from your national, regional, or international affiliation in regards to that account. But looking at the actual form, the first thing we want to mention is that the first three fields of the first page, that is your full organization name, abbreviated organization name, and the category of your organization, will be pre-filled for you, meaning that you cannot edit it. If you want that changed, you will need to contact the MIC. Over here you see a profile picture that you can upload, and then if we scroll down a bit, what we will see is description, keywords, and website. Description is essentially a description of your club. Keywords are keywords related to your club, like psychology if you're a psychology club, stuff like that. If we go down one more, we see website. So that is going to be a URL to essentially an off Matasync website for inclusion. With that said, we're going to continue on to the second page. Here is where we're going to attach people to positions. So this is essentially creating your executive board. In terms of the individuals I have listed, you can see I'm using a generic Matasync account. You'll want to attach the correct people and all different people to the specific positions themselves. You'll need to fill out all 5 required, and how you do that is you click the Add button below a position. You can see here I'm doing President, so let's click Add President. We're going to search for an individual. In this case, I'm looking again for the generic Matasync. We're going to add in a start date, just click the date where they start, and even though end date is optional, I'm going to select one anyway, so there we go. We're going to repeat that for all 5 required positions and any additional positions you want to create, and you can continue on after you have completed that page. Now this next page is a little different. There won't be anything to fill out per se. Instead, there's some reading you have to do. Specifically, what you're going to want to do is follow the links that you can see highlighted in blue, because that's going to contain various policies and procedures that CSUN has set forth for its recognized organizations and clubs to run themselves based on. So it's up to you and expected of you to understand them and follow them. So follow those links and we will move on to the next page. Here we'll have a few questions to answer, starting with the year of registration. Then we'll enter our meeting day and time, followed by the location where we meet, and then we will enter how many individuals are in our club. After that, we have our upload for the roster we created in our Excel file. You can see right here all of the required fields for that Excel document, so make sure all that's included. Then we're going to input how many of our members are not CSUN students. Now, according to the policies and procedures we had talked about earlier, only 20% of your total roster can be non-CSUN students. That means if you have 100 members, you can only have 20 non-CSUN student members. So do the math and make sure you are following those procedures and policies correctly. Lastly, on this page, we are going to input an email that is generally used by our club, and then we will move on to the next page. Here's where we will be inputting all of our advisors' information, starting with our advisor's name. So what I'm going to do is enter the name of Agi Garibay, the supervisor of Matasync. Then I'm going to enter in his email. So make sure you include all of this information. They are required, so when you see the little required icon next to a question, you have to answer it. After that, I'm going to include a department name, so I'm going to type in Matador Involvement Center, where all of the Matasync work happens. And then what you'll see below this question are 2 non-required questions. add them if you can. If not, we'll just move on. You can see here a collection of questions that you'll want to answer based on your club specifically. You can read these and answer them yourselves. I answered them randomly, but you should not. I'm going to move on to the next page. Here we get to the part of the organization registration form where you will be consenting to various policies and procedures that the school uses in terms of governing their clubs and organizations. So you're going to want to read all of this information and be knowledgeable about it, and then we will agree to that information. You can see here I have agreed to all of these. What you'll see here when the blue links pop up, this is where you want to follow those links and really read about, for instance, here, the code of ethics that you will all be operating under. It's important to know that information. You are expected to know that information, and you will be held accountable to that information. So again, click agree. Here you'll see 2 links. Again, please follow that information. Do not just click I agree. Make sure you are knowledgeable of that information. Here is where we are going to answer if we have an off-campus bank account. If we click yes, that is where we are going to upload our letter from our national, regional, or international affiliation. If we click no, you do not have to have that information. That's why I said only some of you need this. Only if you have an off-campus bank account will you need that. Moving on, we can see here another consent form. So in this case, we are looking at various policies related to funds. Moving on, this is a few other consent forms specifically involving what is required of officers to be eligible for an executive board position, agreeing to your own constitution and the rules you set forth, after which you will simply agree to the fact that you received a copy of the resource guide, follow the link to receive that copy. After which we will click continue, and this is the final page. If we click finish, we submit the document, but I am going to hold off because we need to first discuss what will need to happen after submission before you will officially receive your university recognition. The first is your advisor will be getting an email from Matisync once you submit this document, and they will have to follow that email to review your submission and approve it. After this, all of your executive board members will receive a different email and notification, which they will need to follow to complete an additional form. So each of your executive board members will be responsible for completing their own form. The MIC does not approve organization registration forms, and clubs don't attain recognition until the organization registration form, the individual executive board members finish their form, and the advisor reviews and approves the submission. So really make sure all of those pieces are complete. In terms of the position request form, there will be a link on the screen right now. You can follow that to look at an in-depth view of how to complete that. And once all those 3 pieces are done, you can have recognition as long as you are approved. That is this week's Skill of the Week. Have a good week. Bye-bye.